Brooklyn, Marcy Projects, a place where pressure builds people or breaks them, a place where decisions are not small, every choice carries weight, every move shapes your future. Two individuals stand in the same environment. One is already thinking beyond the moment. The other is about to prove he can do the same. That man is Jay-Z. The young mind being tested is Memphis Bleek, and what happens next is not luck, it is discipline. Machiavelli wrote, "Men judge generally more by the eye than by the hand, because everyone can see but few can feel." In environments like this, perception matters, but real power comes from deeper understanding. Success always leaves clues. Jay saw something early. I got this shorty on my block, always clocking my rocks. He likes the style and profile. I think he wanna mock. But it is not about imitation. It was about recognition. Jay-Z was observing Bleek. He said, "I see his hunger pains. I know his blood boils. He wanna run with me. I know this kid will be loyal." As a leader, Jay-Z was not just looking for talent, he was looking for the mindset. Here is a principle you must understand. Your future is determined by the people you align with and the standards you accept. Machiavelli stated, "The first method for estimating the intelligence of a ruler is to look at the men he has around him." Jay was not just picking talent, he was selecting alignment. Bleek was a student studying, but he wasn't just watching. Jay-Z was also observing and watching. I watched him make a few ends to cop his little sneakers and gear, then it is just enough for re-up again. He saw the inception of Bleek hustle. He was just hustling to buy sneakers and barely making it, and using the rest of the cash to buy product again. Money is not meant to sit, money is meant to move and multiply. Machiavelli emphasized that fortune favors those who know how to act when opportunity appears, not those who hesitate. Bleek was already showing movement, even at a small level. Bleek was focused and determined to make it, but the hustling life could be frustrating. Bleek would later share his sentiments when he said, "I am tired of being out here round the clock breaking day, chasing crackheads up the block for my pay." Even though Bleek was young, he knew being a worker wasn't the place he wanted to be, but that was the starting point. He was willing to go through the pain. And as they say, what doesn't break you will make you. Bleek was in the learning phase, soaking up the game like a sponge. He wasn't allowing his environment to define his limits, but it was sharpening his vision. Machiavelli wrote, "A wise man does at once what a fool does finally." Bleek was beginning to understand early what others learned too late. Then the moment arrives, not loud, not dramatic, a simple test. Jay-Z says casually and intentionally, "Here is 1,000. But Bleek immediately responded with, "Hey G, I ride with you for free." Most people would have taken the money, but not Bleek. He was going for the long run. He wanted the knowledge, that the decision would later make him a wealthy man. But listen carefully. If you chase money, you will always be behind it. If you chase knowledge, money will eventually chase you. Bleek would go on to say, "I want the long-term riches, not instant gratification." He was young, but a wise young man. Think about it. Short-term thinking says, take the cash. Long-term thinking says, secure the position. Jay recognized it immediately, and he calmly approved Bleek's resume. Jay would later say in the verse, "I like your resume. Pick a day you can start." He wasn't just offering Bleek an opportunity, he was giving him access to his knowledge and the mindset that creates wealth. Machiavelli wrote, "There is nothing more difficult to take in hand than to take the lead in the introduction of a new order of things." Jay was not just mentoring Bleek, he was preparing him for a different level of thinking. Understand this clearly. Opportunities do not always come with a price tag. Sometimes they come with a test. Bleek passed that test. Now the real work begins. Bleek is no longer guessing. He is learning directly from someone who understands how the game is to be played. Jay-Z is in his teaching mode and says, "You let them other niggas get the name, skip the fame. 10,000 or 100 G, keep your situation the same." He was teaching Bleek discipline. He told Bleek to stay low, stay away from the spotlight. And this part is the most important. No matter how much money you have, stay the same. Don't let the money change you, even when people change around you. Jay's was teaching him a lesson in discipline. Machiavelli warned that he who becomes powerful through favor will find it difficult to maintain his position without discipline. Jay was teaching Bleek how to sustain power, not just reach it. Jay-Z would later say, "The only way to blow is to let your movement grow quietly. Then you strike." He was talking about timing and patience. Here is the truth most people ignore. Success is built in silence and revealed in results. Machiavelli taught that wise rulers act quietly and strike decisively when the time is right. This is strategic patience. Bleek had some internal struggles. "I got the urge to splurge. I do not want a lifetime sentence. Just give me the word." Temptation never disappears. It only tests your discipline. Bleek had the same urges as everyone else, but now he had guidance. Guidance is the difference between repeating mistakes and building a future. Machiavelli stated, "Men are driven by two principal impulses, either by love or by fear." Discipline is what keeps a man from being controlled by either. Many people think success is about being in the right place. That is not accurate. Success is about making the right decision when the moment comes. Jay-Z appears to be testing Bleek. He says, "Here is $1,000." Now think about that. Jay's offering Bleek money in the beginning. If Bleek takes this money, he would appear to only want money. Bleek responds, I ride with you for free." That moment defines everything. There are two types of people. One sees money and reacts. The other sees opportunity and thinks. Bleek chose to think. Machiavelli emphasized that those who act with foresight control their destiny, while those who react are controlled by it. Now, listen to what Jay says later. Jay-Z confidently said, "Bleek could be one hit away from his whole career. As long as I am alive, he is a millionaire." That is not luck. That is structure. That is what happens when you align yourself with the right system. Machiavelli believed that power built on strong foundations outlives circumstances. This is not chance, this is design. Here is the final principle for this moment. Your greatest opportunity is not what you earn today. It is what you learn today that multiplies tomorrow. Bleek understood that early, he says. "I gave it back to show him I was down for the cause." He was committed, he was disciplined, and he had a vision. A young man from Marcy made a decision that most people would never understand, and that decision changed his entire trajectory. This is not just a story about hip-hop. This is a life lesson, because the difference between average and extraordinary is one decision made at the right time. The decision Bleek made that day got him in the door, but now the real test begins. Just because Bleek got through the door did not mean he was instantly successful. Like Bleek said, it is time to show and prove. He became a player in the game, no longer watching from the outside. The red carpet was set for him, but he still had to prove that he belonged there. His patience and loyalty were tested, and this is where Bleek's journey began. Machiavelli believed that stepping into a higher level of power is dangerous because new environments bring new enemies, new pressures, and new expectations. Bleek was now in the rooms full of vultures, snakes, and rats. In this environment, there is no room for mistakes because one mistake can get you killed. Bleek had to move with meticulous, dangerous precision. Machiavelli understood that in dangerous environments, people respect strength more than weakness. If you appear soft around predators, they will test you. Worse yet, they will eat you alive. It is a dog-eat-dog environment, and only the strong survive. But Jay-Z's words rang loud in Bleek's ear. "Time to come up, hold my own weight, defend my crown." There is a lot of determination in those lines. These streets are full of dangerous characters, such as stick-up kids whose whole job is to take what you worked hard for. It's not fair, but this is the game Bleek had decided to play. Listen to what Jay-Z told Bleek. "You've got to hold your own weight. You can't show any weakness. You've got to defend what is yours, because those street vultures will devour you. There's no excuse, no alibi." Bleek's response to the Jay-Z line is, "I am out here slinging, bringing the drama, trying to come up in the game and add a couple of dollar signs to my name." Bleek took Jay-Z's challenge. He started grinding and wanted the money and the status. Meanwhile, Jay-Z was playing the coach, drawing up the plays for Bleek, and Bleek was following through with Jay-Z's plans and demands. Bleek was no longer moving blindly. He was moving in the right direction because he had an advisor. Ancient texts say my people perish because of a lack of knowledge. One of Machiavelli's principles was that wise people study and learn from those who already understand power rather than trying to figure everything out on their own. As time went on, Bleek saw how Jay-Z went from the streets to building an empire as it began to evolve. He saw the rise of Roc-A-Fella, but he also saw how dangerous it became as the fortune came. Now the enemy wasn't the enemy anymore. It was the so-called friends who harbored secret resentments in their hearts, whom he had to worry about. Bleek also observed how Jay-Z saw through the betrayal. Jay-Z would later say, "You got to know how to move in a room full of vultures." Bleek saw how Jay-Z's own best friend started acting funny when he started making money, but Bleek stood by Jay-Z's side. In fact, he started to fire back at anyone who posed any threat to Jay-Z. He played his position. He never tried to outshine Jay-Z and would never betray Jay-Z, even if he had felt slighted by Jay-Z. He was all in. Machiavelli believed that people often change when power and money enter the room. Friends become jealous, loyal people become ambitious, and hidden resentment begins to surface. But Jay-Z had built him for this moment. As Jay-Z rose to power, he could not do too much because of the spotlight. He says, "If I shoot you, I'm brainless, but if you shoot me, then you're famous." Jay-Z knew that he was in a lose-lose situation, so he chose to play a low profile while still going hard in the music business. He saw the opportunity and took it. Machiavelli understood that powerful people cannot always react emotionally. Sometimes survival requires patience, timing, and calculated restraint. Jay-Z remained vigilant. Stick up your chest and make some loot. Stand on your own too. Jay-Z was teaching Bleek how to be independent. He was not building followers, but leaders. Years later, Bleek would confirm this, responding to people who say Jay-Z doesn't help him. He says confidently that he does fine on his own and doesn't need Jay-Z. He wasn't dissing Jay-Z, but he was saying that he does great on his own, even though he is still rocking with Jay-Z. Understand this, if you depend on others for your success will always have limits. Bleek was built to stand on his own, so he is limitless. Machiavelli believed that strong leaders create systems that continue to operate even when they are not physically present. Bleek survived it all. He saw friends come and go, but he never changed. He experienced a new level of cunning from the devils who will smile with you while plotting to kill you. One of Machiavelli's biggest lessons was that appearances can deceive you. People often hide their real intentions behind friendship, loyalty, and smiles. In part 2 of The Coming of Age, Bleek found himself frustrated, and he reveals a chilling statement. "I am the one who moved the stuff," while he drives around town in brand new coupes. Bleek's ego and outside influence got to him to the point that he no longer needed Jay-Z. This is where most people lose everything. He was thinking, "I am doing all the work, and he is getting the credit." Getting to the top is a process. You have to pay your dues, but if you have the wrong advisors around you, they will make you think you are ready when you are not. Those types of advisors are dangerous because they could lead soldiers down a ditch. Machiavelli warned that bad advisors destroy powerful people from the inside because the wrong voices can cloud judgment and create unnecessary conflict. The fastest way to destroy your future is to compare your journey to someone else's. Bleek was at a crossroads, but he came back to his senses when he said, "Swear, they had me practically hating his guts. Men in power need to be surrounded by genuine people. Otherwise, they will make the wrong decision." This is a lesson for anyone, whether you are on the streets or in the real world. As you grow, you will face moments and people who swear they know everything. This is a testing moment. Do you remain disciplined or do you let your emotions get the best of you? Machiavelli believed pressure reveals character because difficult situations force people to show who they truly are. While Bleek was going through it, Jay-Z had a sixth sense that Bleek had some animosity towards him. Jay saw it because he was Bleek and he paid attention to detail, so nothing escaped him. Jay remained calm and calculating, but now Jay-Z faced an inner struggle over what to do with Bleek. Machiavelli understood that strong leaders carefully observe before making emotional decisions, because a single negative reaction can undo years of progress. Should I school him or break him apart? As a leader, you know how to read people, especially if they are in your circle, because it will be the so-called friend who feels slighted, who grows animosity that will take you out. So as a leader, you have to know your people, whether they can be guided or know when to cut ties. One of Machiavelli's principles was that a leader should always pay attention to the people closest to him because betrayal usually comes from within the circle rather than from outside it. Real leaders do not tolerate weakness. They either develop it or eliminate it. Bleek was finally about to face the truth. He had decided who he was going to be. Now he was face to face with Jay-Z, but he was trying to stay composed. Jigga, what up? On the surface, everything seemed to be normal, but internally, there was an intense battle. Understand this, it was not about money or fame, but it was about being disciplined under pressure. Knowing yourself, knowing your enemy, and knowing your environment. No one should be able to persuade you to betray your boss. Machiavelli believed that people without discipline are easily manipulated by emotion, ego, jealousy, and outside influence. Bleek had lost his way, but he was able to remember something important, which was the original decision that he had made when Jay-Z had said, "Here's $1,000. Bleek responded with confidence, "I ride with you for free." That moment became his anchor. Bleek was back focused again. Machiavelli understood that disciplined people survive chaos by staying committed to their long-term vision, even when emotions try to distract them. I gave it back to show him I was down for the cause. That cause was bigger than his ego, it was bigger than the emotions. Bleek had committed to a vision, and he did not abandon it even when things got uncomfortable. Bleek had regained his focus. He saw the empire had expanded from the street corners to the music business. Jay-Z grew in stature and started to dominate the industry. He turned culture into revenue, but Jay-Z wasn't chasing money. He was creating streams of income, and he wasn't ashamed of it. Jay-Z says, "The name is mine. I will take the blame for that." He took ownership and responsibility for the entire structure. Jay-Z believes that if you do not own it, you do not control it. Machiavelli also believed that lasting power comes from controlling the structure rather than relying on temporary success. Meanwhile, Bleek was learning this in real time. He revealed it in this line, "I soaked the game up, now it is my time to shine." That line means more now. Yes, Bleek said, shining was not about attention, rather, it was about positioning. One of Machiavelli's core lessons was that positioning matters because people with the right position often control outcomes without needing constant attention. The truth is, your value is not determined by how visible you are. It is determined by how valuable your position is. Bleek was becoming valuable and was at a critical stage. Because for most people, once they secure the position, they start to lose discipline. They get an opportunity and they start to lose focus. But Bleek became more focused. Machiavelli believed disciplined people adapt under pressure, while emotional people collapse when situations become difficult. Bleek showed that he could handle the pressure. When emotions rose, he stayed disciplined. He stayed humbled. People see the cars, the fame, and the spotlight, and they think that is success. That is the farthest thing from the truth, because real success does not look loud. Real success is creating your own lane and playing your position as a boss. Jay-Z is standing on top of his kingdom, and Memphis Bleek is still standing in position next to Jay-Z. This is not a coincidence or an accident. It took a lot of confidence, loyalty, and determination to reach the status of Jay-Z and Memphis Bleek. Understand this. Success is not about what you gain quickly. It is about what you keep consistently. Bleek did not rush his moment. He stayed close to Jay-Z. He remained grateful, calm, and grounded. He played his role. He never thought he was bigger than the program. He just played his role. Machiavelli once taught, "A wise man does at once what the fool does finally." Bleek understood that early. He knew patience was power. Bleek says, "I've come up, put my life on the line, soaked the game up, now it's my time to shine." He is not celebrating, but he is confirming to himself that he did the work, he absorbed the knowledge, and he is enjoying the fruits of his labor. The truth is, you do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your discipline. Bleek stayed disciplined. While others chased attention, Jay built systems, and Bleek watched every move. Machiavelli believed that men rise from one ambition to another. First, they seek to secure themselves. Then they seek to dominate. Jay-Z mastered both stages. First survival, then ownership, then the expansion. The machine Jay created expanded into Roc Nation, which controls deals and management. He even created his own clothing line, Roc-A-Wear, which is converting hip-hop culture into revenue. When Cristal refused to do business with him, Jay-Z decided to create Ace of Spades. Later in 2021, he sold a 50% stake in his champagne brand to LVMH, Moet Hennessy. Many people would criticize this move, but now Jay-Z is in a 50-50 partnership with a luxury conglomerate, and he did so to ensure the brand's global distribution. This move netted Jay-Z $300 million. In addition, his liquor brand, Duceé, entered the luxury market. We are not talking music anymore, we are talking ownership. Years before the empire, Jay-Z was reciting his visions, "The dynasty like my money, last 3 lifetimes." His words became reality. Machiavelli warned leaders, "The prince who thinks only of the present will lose the future." Jay-Z was thinking generations ahead. If your vision only feeds you today, then it is too small. You have to build something that feeds generations. Jay has built for generations, and Bleek has positioned himself inside that vision. Jay-Z even said it himself, Bleek could be one hit away from his whole career. As long as I'm alive, he's a millionaire. That is what happens when you stay loyal and connect yourself to a system that produces value. The fact is, when you build the right relationships, you do not chase success. Success becomes part of your environment. Bleek became part of that environment. Think about it. This whole thing started with an offer. Jay-Z gives Bleek an offer, "Here is $1,000. But Bleek turned down the offer and said, "I ride with you for free." Years later, that decision is still paying him. Never underestimate the power of faith and a disciplined decision. Machiavelli says, like, commitment reveals the character of a man far more than comfort ever will. Bleek proved his value before the money arrived. Bleek says in the song, "No more second in line, these streets are mine." That wasn't ego. He grew into a man. He was no longer observing. He understands the game now. Bleek survived the process. He went from learning to participating. Bleek became an ambassador for Duceé. That is not luck. He stayed close and he learned the system. You do not have to own everything. You have to be positioned within something that grows. Jay-Z knows that he is more than a businessman. He says, I'm not a businessman. I'm a businessman. That mindset changed everything. It turned music into a business. It turned attention into ownership. And Bleek learned it firsthand. The industry evolved. Streaming took over. Ownership became the real power. Jay expanded into title, strategic equity deals, and long-term partnerships, and Bleek stayed connected, still positioned, still benefiting. Machiavelli believed a ruler gains strength by keeping strong people close. Jay-Z understood that, and Bleek understood the value of remaining useful inside the empire. Now think about the tension Bleek faced earlier, the doubt, the outside voices. As Bleek reflected on the past, he said, "They had me thinking I was the one who moved the stuff." That mindset could have destroyed everything. It could have made him fall out of position, but it did not. Bleek did not let emotion win. Jay-Z, on the other hand, was peeping the game from a logical perspective when he says, the only way to peep a fool is to let him show his hand. Then you play your cards. Jay-Z was talking poker and having a poker face, being patient and staying disciplined. Machiavelli taught the first method for estimating the intelligence of a ruler is to look at the men he keeps around him. Jay surrounded himself with people who understood patience, loyalty, and timing. Bleek remembered that, and that is why he stayed in position. Bleek said it himself, "I soaked the game up." Knowledge is the key to everything. Bleek not only learned the game, but he applied it. He did not rush. He did not panic. He stayed long enough to understand the system. Bleek stayed in the right environment, and now this is the payoff. Position inside a system that produces wealth. Bleek turned down $1,000 and gained access to millions. Not instantly, not overnight, but consistently. Bleek was calm and confident when he told Jay-Z, "I ride with you for free." That line is no longer about sacrifice. It is about vision. Machiavelli once said, "Fortune favors the bold when preparation meets opportunity." Bleek made a bold decision early. Then they stayed disciplined long enough to benefit from it. The greatest investments are not always financial. They are the decisions that position you for the future. Bleek made that investment early, and now everything is connected. Now, here is the part nobody talks about. Not the hunger, not the late nights, not the moment the money finally shows up. The money came after the long grind, the sweat equity. Let's talk about legacy. You see, a lot of people think success is about what you make. That is only part of success. Real success is building something that keeps moving long after the excitement fades. That is why Memphis Bleek's story matters, because after all these years, he is still standing beside Jay-Z, still connected. Bleek is still benefiting from a decision he made when he was young. That is not luck. That was vision mixed with patience. Machiavelli once warned that people destroy their future chasing temporary comfort. Most people do exactly that. Bleek did not. Now let's go back to the line that explains everything. I done came up, put my life on the line, soaked the game up, now it's my time to shine. That line sounds simple, but it is not. Bleek gave away the secret right there. He soaked the game up. He watched quietly. He paid attention. He learned before trying to lead. That takes discipline. Bleek calmly said, "No more second in line." People hear that and think ego. It was not ego, it was growth. Bleek was no longer the young kid standing behind Jay. He became a man who understood how the machine worked. That changes everything. Machiavelli believed that wise men do not wait for opportunities, they create them. That is exactly what Bleek did. He stayed close to power long enough to understand power. Most people chase attention because attention feels good. Position is different. Position keeps paying you after the spotlight moves on. While everybody else focused on looking successful, Jay-Z was focused on building systems. Roc Nation, Duceé, Tidal, one move connected to another. People saw a rapper. Jay saw ownership. That is why he moved differently. Machiavelli understood this mindset centuries ago. Most people only react to what they can see. Very few understand what is happening beneath the surface. People saw jewelry and fame. Jay saw leverage, equity, control. Bleek saw it too. That is why he never rushed to separate himself from the growing system. Here's the truth. If you stay connected to growth long enough, your own life starts growing with it. That is exactly what happened here. Now listen to Jay again. Jay-Z firmly said, "The dynasty, like my money, lasts 3 lifetimes." That is not normal thinking. That is a man thinking beyond his own life. That is empire thinking. Machiavelli once wrote that great leaders build things designed to survive them. Jay understood that early. He was never building for the moment. He was building for decades. Most people build for applause. Applause fades fast. Jay built for longevity. Bleek positioned himself inside that vision and stayed there. Now think about this line again that Jay-Z says, Bleek could be one hit away from his whole career. As long as I'm alive, he's a millionaire. And even if I die, he's in my will somewhere. That line is everything because Jay-Z was speaking from the heart. He realized that Bleek not only took the ride for free, but he stayed solid till this day. Machiavelli warned leaders that loyalty built during struggle lasts longer than loyalty bought with rewards. Bleek earned his place before success arrived. That matters. Real wealth keeps working even when you are gone. That is legacy. Now go back to the beginning when Jay-Z said to Bleek, "Here is 1,000. But Bleek responded, "I ride with you for free." Most people would have grabbed the money and walked away. Bleek saw something bigger than cash. He saw access. He saw knowledge. He saw an opportunity standing right in front of him. Machiavelli believed fortune moves quickly and hesitation destroys opportunity. Bleek did not hesitate. That one decision changed his entire future. Years later, Bleek becomes an ambassador for Duceé. That is not charity. That is what happens when somebody stays solid for years without folding under pressure. Bleek remained steady and said, "I stayed in position." That line explains the whole story. Bleek stayed in position. He did not let ego ruin relationships. He did not panic when things slowed down. He did not crash out trying to prove himself. He stayed disciplined. A lot of talented people fail because talent without discipline burns out fast. Consistency always lasts longer. That is what separated Bleek from everybody else. This story is bigger than music. This is about ownership. Bleek chose knowledge over quick money. That decision kept paying him year after year. Machiavelli once said, "A man becomes powerful when he learns from powerful people without letting pride blind him." Bleek listened more than he talked. That helped him survive. Bleek was giving you the blueprint to success. Through the choices that he made, he chose knowledge over the fast cash. In the process, he learned to play his position and stay out of the spotlight, remaining focused and patient. Most people say they are patient, but they complain while waiting. That's not patient. Bleek stayed patient and did not complain in the process. Most people miss life-changing moments because they only focus on immediate rewards. Bleek looked beyond the moment. Bleek calmly says to Jay-Z, "I ride with you for free, but there is no free lunch in life." Yes, Bleek rode with Jay for free, but he learned the game through the risk and became his own boss with integrity and morals. Machiavelli believed that disciplined risk-taking creates the greatest rewards. Bleek took the risk. Then he stayed patient long enough to receive the reward. He went from the Marcy Projects to corporate boardrooms. He did not take the $1,000. He built long-term wealth beside one of the biggest moguls in music. Bleek's $1,000 story should be studied. His journey was a case of delayed gratification just to reach the goal. It was never about luck. It was built through patience, through discipline, through staying solid when most people would have folded. Now the picture becomes clear. Success is not about taking everything the moment it appears. It is about recognizing what is valuable enough to wait for and having the discipline to see it through.